Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's get this started. This is the Transportation, Infrastructure, Energy, and Environment Committee. Today's Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Denoga.
Present.
Councilmember Hunter. Here. Councilmember Harrison. 3 members present, roll call.
Okay, so lost Mr. Battle. My bad. I didn't see he walked off. Well, that being the case, he's going to be mad at me. Well, it looks like we have 2 budget work sessions today. So we're going to start with the Department of the Environment. We got Dr. Moki here with his team. And I guess we'll turn to Mr. Hurdle to start us off with an overview.
Good morning, Chair Denoga and members of the committee. Alex Hurdle, Legislative Budget and Policy Analyst. We have a PowerPoint that we're going to pull up here in a second. So I'll be providing the overview for the fiscal year 2027 proposed budget for the Department of the Environment. I think we're getting the slide up now. Thank you. So this slide here shows the organizational structure of the Department of the Environment. We have our newer director, Dr. Samuel Moki, as director of the department. This slide also outlines the mission statement for the department as well as core services. Our next slide provides the strategic focus for the department. We have 6 areas that we've outlined here, including reducing flood risks, increasing green infrastructure, and increasing the placement of animals in forever homes, among the others. The fiscal year 2027 budget summary for the department is proposed at $273.7 million. This is an increase of $8.1 million from last year. This consists of 94.9% from the 3 enterprise funds, solid waste, stormwater, as well as water quality, 3.6% from the general fund, and grant funds consist of 1.5% of the proposed budget. The department expects the need for a supplemental general fund budget of $1.5 million that they're requesting for fiscal year 2026. These factors contributing to the request include lower than anticipated attrition, critical operational needs due to an increase in animal intake levels, and service demands at the animal shelter. We'll go to the general and grant funds overview. This is proposed at $9.8 million. This is an increase of approximately $515,000 or 5.5%. This consists of $2.74 million in operating funds, $3.5 million in fringe, $6.1 million in recoveries, and the compensation is proposed at approximately $9.7 million. The proposed grants funds for fiscal year 2027 is, again, $5.2 million, and this is a decrease of $400,200. The overview of the solid waste management fund. We have proposed operating of $119.9 million. That's a 2% increase. $8.4 million in fringe, $1.5 million in capital outlay. Compensation is proposed at $12.4 million. For the stormwater management overview, we have $8.3 million in compensation, operating of $80.6 million, which is a 3.2 increase, and $6.5 million in fringe benefits. Our local watershed protection and restoration overview consists of $1.4 million in compensation, a $22.6 million operating budget proposed, and $496,100 in fringe benefits. This includes $335,500 for OPEB costs. In terms of staffing for the entire department, full-time employees, we have a complement of 353 proposed. This is unchanged from last year. And for grant funded, there are 9 employees. And again, this is unchanged from last year. As of March 25th, 2026, 111 out of 122 general fund authorized positions were filled. As of March of this year, 4 out of 9 grant fund authorized positions were filled. And in fiscal year 2026, the department has 1 general funded position aligned with the Office of Central Services, which is a planner for. This assignment is likely to continue in fiscal year 2027. This is the energy manager for the county. As of March of this year, 29 full-time civilian positions were reported as vacant, representing an 8.2% civilian vacancy rate. The general fund attrition rate is 16% in fiscal year 2026, year to date, with 24 resignations, retirements, and terminations. We're going to move on to the proposed capital budget. I want to highlight the 6, I know this is difficult to see, but the top chart, you'll see our 6 project for the department outlined here. The 2 that are having funds put into CIP for this year include the Brown Station landfill construction, as well as the organics composting facility. That doesn't mean that funds will be spent for these projects. Some of the money carries over from last year, but the 2 that I outlined will have additional funds put in through the proposed budget. The bottom chart, again, I apologize, it's hard to read, but there are 2 projects that I want to outline, including the Clean Water Partnership, and there's a proposal of $34 million funding for that for fiscal year 2027, as well as the MS4 NPDES compliance and restoration, which is approximately $14.1 million. These 2 projects are helping with the mandates that we have from state and federal level mandates for clean water within Prince George's County. This slide, I want to outline a concern that we have had with the solid waste fund balance structural deficit that is becoming more concerning year after year within the department. The overall net position of the Solid Waste Management Enterprise Fund as of June 30th of last year was approximately negative $26.8 million. This enterprise fund is in a structural deficit. Its reoccurring expenditures are consistently exceeding reoccurring revenues and has been for many years. This requires a shift from temporary fixes to structural changes, such as raising user fees, restructuring operations, or implementing a long-term debt management plan. The county must begin implementing best practices along with the developing and implementing immediate corrective action plans. There is a dire need to establish a strict financial policy that dictates when the fund balance must be replenished, ensuring the structural issue is corrected and not just deferred. We did have a discussion with the department over this concern during the budget review. We didn't get specific plans from either Office of Management and Budget or the department regarding a shorter long-term plan to fix this structural deficit. We do know that there have been fees that have been raised on tipping fees at the landfill, but I invite the department and OMB to talk further about this during their presentation. Some of the highlights of the department this past year has been Animal Services Division has had an increase of nearly 25% year over year of intake of animals. The department has broadened the solar grant program from an initial 9 designated energy resilient communities to include all eligible residents across the county, increasing equitable access to clean energy funding. DOE has restored over 8,039 acres of impervious surface under the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, known as NPDES, and Municipal Separate Storm and Sewer System, MS4, mandates since its inception. The department has also initiated construction to expand disposal capacity at the county's existing Brown Station sanitary landfill for a period of at least 60 years, and the department has begun implementation of resilient hub partnerships with Hyattsville Branch Library and the Colin Powell Academy, which is part of our public school system, to provide safe, energy resilient community spaces during emergencies. Some of the challenges that that the department has is combined enterprise funds for solid waste, stormwater, and water quality are expected to exceed a combined deficit of over $327 million by the end of fiscal year 2026. Additionally, the uncertainty of funding from federal, state, and nonprofits and foundations will limit grant money projected to decrease by 55% in fiscal year 2026. DOE has continued high attrition rates for certain positions within the department, which compromises services to residents and drains internal resources. The department has enhanced curbside bulky trash services and low food scrap recycling participation, which may facilitate additional tonnage of trash into the county landfill. I do want to remind the committee that approximately 30% of all garbage that goes into our landfill is organic waste. And if we could take all that and make our compost materials out of that with our facility off of 301, that would be financially, that would be a win-win for us. Finally, despite robust tree plantings by the department and other agencies, tree canopy continues to decline in both rural and urban areas of the county. Outlined in our responses from the department indicates a need to restructure the urban tree program from an operational fund to a CIP project. And again, I invite the department to talk about that in the presentation. That concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions if the committee has any. Thank you.
Mr. Harrison, you had a question? Maybe we should wait to hear them. Then you'll be first on the list. Look at that slide, that last slide. Okay, we'll turn to Dr. Moki. You can introduce your team, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Denoga. Thank you, members of the TIEE. I am surrounded by the A team from DOE. Sitting on my far left is David Fisher, who heads Animal Services. Marilyn Newman, who heads the Sustainable Waste Management Division. Mr. Dehan, who heads Stormwater. Roshane Jones is head of Strategic and Administrative Services Division. Ms. Donita is our budget manager for DOE. Mr. Anthony Bennett is Deputy Director that oversees the Sustainable Waste Management Division and the Community Engagement and Beautification. And to my far right, just returned fresh from the state legislature, Deputy Director Coley, who oversees climate and energy, and and animal services. There you go. All right, so we do have a presentation. Mr. Huddle has pretty much captured most of what is on my presentation. Do I even know how to use this?
I think you go down to go up.
Okay, go down to go up. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. So that's DOE's overall proposed FY 2027 budget at 384 million point eight. And if you look at all the buckets around that number, that's where that total amount is coming from. Okay, so let's begin with the general fund. We have an increase of 5.5% from this fiscal year. And the next slide will show you the programmatic areas where this funding is going. It's Animal Services Division. It lists the specifics there, boards and commission, and also some aspects of our climate and energy. And then there's the solid waste fund that we all know has some structural issues. There's an increase of 3.9. There's an increase. Okay. Yeah, there's an increase of 3.9%. Stands at almost 140 million. The next slide is going to show you where we are spending this money. Curbside trash and recycling collection, curbside composting, appliance, electronics, and scrap metal collection, and community waste and recycling events. The environment CIP for the solid waste for the Sustainable Waste Management Division. Pretty much every aspect of this slide is carryover funding, but we are highlighting the 2 million, which is additional funding for this FY27, and that is allocated for underground water storage at the composting facility. It is a fire suppressant project that we are carrying out there to be consistent with state regulations. Stormwater, we have a total request of 120 million. That represents a 3.2% increase from FY26. And for water quality, we're requesting 24.4 million, which represents a 2.7% increase from last year. These are the programmatic areas that this funding will be addressing: stormwater management, flood protection and environmental resilience, climate and energy, and community engagement and beautification. For stormwater CIP, the two highlighted figures there, 34.3 million and 14.1 for MS4 compliance. These are new requests for FY27. And these are CIP requests that we are making for FY27. 7.6 million for emergency response program. Endangered structure acquisition is 11.1 million. Participation programs with, yes. these are participation programs with the Department of Public Works and Transportation. And then these are the grants for FY 2027. Something happened with the presentation, so I can't. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't come through on the printed version either.
Okay. Yeah. So
I figured it was a big reveal today.
yeah, so basically these grants run across energy efficiency, Chesapeake Bay Trust Urban Tree Program, other energy efficiency programs, Joint Base Andrews, and SPAY Today program, and the Feral Cat program. So that's really a brief overview of projects, and we expect that we're going to have some questions that will give us opportunities to further explain our budget. Thank you, sir.
I can't imagine we'll have any questions. Mr. Harrison, we had you on tap.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Denoga. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Moki, for your leadership in the Department of Environment. I'm humbled and grateful to serve along with you, to serve the residents. I want to thank your team and your leadership team for being here. As you've given us a very sobering expression of where we stand with the Department of Environment and what the budget looks like, I'm really turned to on the presentation by Mr. Hurdle to page 11. And it talks about the solid waste fund structural deficit. It's really depressing because I kind of figured this is the black sheep that we really do not want to talk about. And we've kicked this can down the road year after year. My question for you is, obviously the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But the truth of the matter is that we're going to have an honest conversation about what we're doing is not working. And how do we get there to make it work? You inherited this. So this is not you and your team's fault. But what it shows me is that there needs to be more of an investment into your agency to grow as the county grows. What are other communities doing that we might not be doing to address this? I know in Charles County, they have a separate service that residents pay into that is not on the onus is not on the government. It's a subscription that residents pay into. So have we looked at other models in other jurisdictions across this region that seem to be doing things a tad bit differently?
Thank you, Council Member Harrison. So you accurately captured that we met this problem, but leadership also requires that we deal with it. And that's one of the things that we have been discussing, trying to develop a plan and a strategy, which includes everything from what you're talking about to looking at our cost. Yeah. When you run a business, and I know this is not a business, but when you run a business,
but it costs money.
The bottom line is what is cost and what is revenue. Mm-hmm. And does it sync? Are they in sync? It is obvious from the operations at the landfill that it's not. And the one thing that the county has not done is to face the issue that other surrounding jurisdictions, like you say, have looked at their fee structures. And we are lagging behind in a way. We are not increasing the fees consistent with the cost of operations. We are not looking at the fact that the population of the county continues to increase. And so the demand for service and for waste at the landfill increases also. So all those things play a part that leads to these structural situations that we are in. And so we have to look at different kinds of solutions. And those solutions we are talking about now, whether it's from fees or what you mentioned with Charles County. And we have to, vet that out with the administration. And then eventually, the county council is going to see where we are.
Absolutely. Is there a possibility, I guess, that there could be a recommendation from the agency that to set aside, and maybe Mr. Denoga, as you know, you have vast wisdom and knowledge on this council, that maybe, wait, hey man, you got to give credit where credit's due, right? So, looking at a really targeted committee of some sort to do real analysis across the region, just not in Prince George's County, but across the region, with a set of recommendations that can become before this council. And then we are guided by that principle to adopt, right? I think it has to be proactive rather than reactive. And we've been reacting for too long. I mean, you're talking about $26 million deficit and then an unrestricted fund balance deficit of 92 million. That's depressing in itself. And then you turn to page 13, and I just saw the grants that you're getting. It was almost like we're shopping at the Dollar Tree, we have a negative, 55% decrease in limited grant money. We can't expect you to be David Copperfield, right? So these are real dollars that impact the enhancement in the capacity building in the Department of Environment. And so I really am very appreciative of your honesty about where we are, but the honest conversations, we really have to have a reality check about how we prioritize as we move forward, because that is a huge gaping hole. Just definitely wanted to hear just a little bit more about that grant. But you showed those grants. I mean, my God, they look like special appropriation grants.
As a designated fount of wisdom, not self-appointed, but I've seen this movie over and over and over, and it never has an ending. It starts over again. Okay, but this is really simple. We don't need a task force or anything. Every county executive up till now has dodged this issue. We have a fee that's set. It's been set forever. And the Office of Law says if we want to change it, we probably need to send it to the voters. And nobody wants to send the question to the voters. So either you decide the Office of Law is wrong and just change the fee and wait for somebody to sue us. That's one option. And the other option is to put it to the voters and say, we're running this huge deficit and we want to raise trash fees. And everybody's scared what the voters are going to say, particularly right now. But this has been the same situation every single year. And you can only put it to the voters every 2 years. So either you can put it to the voters this year, which in election year, I'm sure every politician wants to do, or you can wait 2 more years and watch this continue. And even if you send it to the voters, you have a very high probability that they're going to say, not today. Okay, but that's where we're at. Okay, so
Mr. Denoga.
1 second. We need a county executive who's willing to take that on, and a county council. as partners. I mean, that's the reality. Or an officer of law that changes its opinion.
I
Mr.
was going to
Harrison?
say, since we are in the spirit of transparency, while you said a committee's not welcome, but or it's not needed, it does create the opportunity to have a public engagement and education in the process to be a part of that. So
Great
they can,
wisdom,
hold
great
on,
wisdom.
let me
No,
finish.
great
Let me
wisdom.
finish.
I will, but that's great
Let
wisdom.
me finish, okay? That allows them to be educated rather than shoving something down someone's throat by doing a referendum on a ballot initiative to change the fees. We're getting the information firsthand, but there's a million people in Prince George's County that don't understand this issue. So while we might understand it, I think it is our fiduciary responsibility to bring this to the community so they can be educated why these services cost so much. That's my only point. And it gives us the opportunity from a jurisdictional perspective to see what other communities are doing. And that can be a part of the conversation of how we need to make the shift.
Mr. Adams, more wisdom.
Well. First and foremost, I think we need to address the verbiage or how we put that forward. A referendum is not shoving something down the throat of the people. It's affording the people an opportunity across the spectrum to voice their opinion. Now, how we educate them as to what's going on that referendum is one that we as a committee and as a council have to address. But I think one of the things we need to make sure is that whenever we see a referendum, that we don't mistake that as something being shoved down somebody's throat. That a referendum is the true opportunity for the people to vote and give their say-so on an issue. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
I was going to repeat what I said, which I think Mr. Harrison makes a strong point about the value of some kind of task force or commission. But I would not do it. We've done a lot of commissions, which is have 20 people from the county government and business and 2 citizens. If we want to educate the public, we need at least 9 citizens from 9 districts and staffed by county officials who can bring the information. I don't believe it would be feasible to do that between now and July when something would have to go on the ballot. In terms of educating the public, I wish it was, but I also don't think that most elected officials really want to put a fee increase on the ballot this year, which means you'd be targeting 2 years from now, which means you have plenty of time to do this, but at the same time, the hole's getting deeper. But this is something we need to work with the administration on. It's not, I don't think it's something we should do, institute by ourselves. So maybe your superiors or you kick this around, but we do need to stop this. Dr. Moki?
Yes, and in addition to everything that was said here, we are going on a limb as a department in terms of looking at technology and how we can enhance revenues at the landfill. I say this just broadly because we are right deep in the process of it, but the methane capture project that has stayed around, languished for some years now, is finally going to happen. And that is going to bring, based on what we have seen, is going to bring some significant revenue for the county. But once we flush all that out, then we'll be at liberty to say. The other thing that we are doing is, and again, this is just preliminary work, but we are brainstorming to see what we can do to improve the situation there. We are trying to incorporate GIS to, first of all, also make sure that everyone is paying the solid waste fee. Do we know that for sure? That everyone is paying the solid waste fee? We don't know. Our suspicion is that there may be some people who have been missed. We don't know, but we're going to do that GIS technology, and we're going to find out if that is the case, the better for us. If not, but at least we tried. But we have that suspicion that there may be some out there, or that we are not capturing everyone. That may happen, that may not happen, but it's an effort that we are putting into.
Mr. Harrison, you got another question?
So I just want to be clear. When I said shoving down someone's throat, was in the two options that Mr. Denoga said, that one could be that we could get sued by the residents of this county if we just arbitrarily just did that and raised the fees without going to having this as a ballot initiative. Also, shoving something down someone's throat is subjective because the person that is actually viewing it gets to interpret it. So that is up for discussion as well. I didn't want you to take that literally. I was trying to create the opportunity to educate the masses of why this needs to happen, because when you got $126 million deficit, structural deficit, whatever opinion me and you have doesn't solve the problem. We want to solve the problem.
Okay, the battle of semantics goes on.
If I may.
Yes, sir. Last word.
But the
last
issue
word.
is that we need to take on the responsibility of educating our communities. So when I didn't mean literally shoving something down the throat, I think that's bizarre to think that I meant that. But what we have to do is take on that responsibility of educating. And one thing I am not so keen on is always putting something into committee when we need to take action. And a part of that action is making sure that we educate the community now and not just wait. So that should be an ongoing process and not something just that we wait and we have to form a community. People need to know now. You need to be informing folks, and we need to be informing folks now and not waiting until the last minute to do this. We talked about, and I heard the chairman say about, you know, it's been something that should have been addressed. Well, let's address it. You know, we can do that. And you can do that in cooperation. So I think that's how we address that. And that was the vein in which I was making my comments. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
We are saying the same.
Yeah, exactly. You're saying the same thing. So now that we got that cleared up. Mr. Olson, and then Mr. Adams.
Passionate this morning.
All right,
Should do
thank
that
you
too.
very much. Thank you, Dr. Moki, for being here and for you having your whole team here. First thing I want to say is thank you, especially Mr. Dehan. There's a massive, about 4 Olympic swimming pool size hole down the street from my house, which is going to be a vault for storing stormwater, which we've been working at for 15, 16 years. But it's happening. They poured the concrete this week, and I have video and I have photos that I'll share with you after. But you know, that's going to make a real difference. Obviously, we need to do more all around the county on stormwater, but I appreciate finally that coming to fruition and seeing it completed by the end of the year. I think that's the timeline. I have a number of questions. Wanted to start with the methane capture recovery at Brown Station. Appreciate you hinting that there is something on the horizon there. You kind of hinted that you may not be able to say too much more, but what more can you say about that? Because that's been something we have all been very interested in making sure that we make happen.
Yeah, the reason why I'm not at liberty is because this is an ongoing procurement process and with the vendors, so that's why. But I can assure you that it's happening.
Okay.
Yes.
Like this fiscal year, we
Yes.
think?
Well, maybe not this fiscal year, but immediately after that, everything should be flowing.
So everything will be in place this fiscal year to then reap the benefits of next fiscal year.
Well, they have to build the facilities,
yeah.
though. It takes
Okay.
some time.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'd love for us to be updated on that when more can be said about that, but appreciate that. That's a big deal, and yeah, please keep us in the loop on that. Wanted to ask about, composting status and how we're doing on that. As Mr. Hurdle's presentation noted, 30% of the landfill is compostable waste, which would really save us a lot of money and be better for the environment. How are we doing on the composting? I know we have the bins and they're available to every household in the county, I believe. I don't know how many are taking advantage of that, but can we talk about that a little bit? Status and what we're doing to bolster that.
I can, but Marilyn, do you want me to go or you want to go? I don't mind. Go ahead.
Good morning. So our next, that 30% statistic that comes from our waste sort at the landfill that was conducted 3 years ago. And so we are doing every 3 years, we do a waste sort at the landfill. And so our upcoming waste sort should start in June. And it's a quarterly waste sort, so we will get data with respect to the types of materials being discarded at the landfill. So that will give us a better gauge on the organics to see whether or not, hopefully it has decreased the amount coming into the landfill. That's really going to be short of doing a countywide survey and literally looking to see the percentage of residents that are actually putting food into those carts. The waste sort at the landfill is our best gauge on the percentage, rather, hopefully it went down or whether it stayed static or hopefully it hasn't increased. So we will have some better numbers after this upcoming year because the first sort will start in June.
The first sort will start this June.
Correct, and it's quarterly.
Quarterly, okay. Okay.
Mr. Can I chime in here?
Yes.
To answer your question directly and to complement what she said, we're having challenges, and everyone knows that. It's the same kind of challenges that we had. As you know, composting is just recently introduced into the county. I mean, residential composting. This is the pride for Prince George's County because if you look around, even Montgomery County doesn't offer that service. But if you look at recycling when we started, if you go back in history, we had these similar challenges. People are not used to it, they're not warm up to it. And that's what we're seeing now. So the challenge for us is how do we continue to reach out to the residents? Mr. Denoga, when we had the budget meeting, there were two ladies there that complained bitterly that their composting wasn't picked up for 2 weeks. I went out there the next morning to see what exactly the situation was, and I found out why. They had it all wrapped up in regular plastic. We will not pick it up. And so it offers an opportunity for us for education and outreach. So that's what we are facing. And one of the things that we are considering, Marilyn, correct me if I'm wrong, we may want to consider legislation just like we did for recycling to mandate it and see where we go from there.
A government mandate on composting, what could go wrong?
Maybe we should go back to tackling the
I just want to address one thing.
$28 million deficit.
Yeah, it'd be easier.
No.
But, yes.
Go ahead. Yes, Mr.
I
Chair.
was going to bring up the Bates stuff later, but people have raised this issue before. Instead of just saying, well, I'm not picking up your recycling or your compost, don't they have like a sticker, like a peel-off sticker they can put on saying, here's how you do it right?
Yeah, we do. And in this case, I don't think we did. So that is one of the things that we had a discussion with Bates last week and even 2 days ago. And that's what we're going to revive that again.
Good. That helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd love to hear what more is being done or thought about on the education front on composting. And I know education can probably only move the needle so far each year, but you know, when we start now, by next year we'll be a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So, you know, curious about the, you know, the education efforts, and then how many have been distributed, you know, to how many households? I mean, do we know?
Marilyn?
So residents who receive trash curbside collection, which is about 182 plus thousand residents, do have the organics carts and may participate in the composting program. I should add also at the composting facility, we do a random quarterly sort of what the materials coming in off of different routes throughout the county. And while we are seeing a percentage or two increase over time of the, you know, more food being placed in the carts, it's a slow progression, but it is progressing upwards. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If we could, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Battle, if we could get some more data on this, you know, whatever there is, that would be super as we're considering this. And also, what can we do to be helpful other than mandating it? You know, what can we do to be helpful, you know, in getting the word out to people? We'd love to have, you know, I'm sure you do put out things, but, you know, would love to get that out to our residents and, you know, be partners in this. So thank you. Mr. Chair, yes.
I think people have recommended or thought of this instead of penalizing people for not composting, give a rebate to people who do. I know it's going to decrease revenue at first, but if that saves you money in the landfill,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not saying a big rebate, but if the word gets out that, you know, you get $1 a week off your trash, you know, it's not a lot of money, but what would we pay, like $330, $40 a year in trash? So something like that. Anyway, which is not enough, but just a thought that maybe.
No, that's a good thought.
rebate.
Hopefully they can be put into the mix.
I'll only do this. I'm on the neighborhood listserv, which has a lot of people on it. When composting came out, the number of people who said, I want the county to come, I didn't ask for this bin, I want them to come take it away. It was a high percentage of people. Then there's a good percentage of people who said, thank goodness the county's doing this. But it's education, but there's a lot of resistance. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to get into why people are resistant, but some people don't think we have issues.
And Mr. Chair, that's exactly what happened during recycling. People fought it in the beginning. Yeah.
Were you here when that happened?
Well, I was in Prince George's County.
That was
probably.
1990. I was here.
Yeah, I was here. You know, so, but, and even if, I think 1990, I was more in New York, I'm sorry. But I read the history, you know, and in trying to resolve this, I went back to history and
Not to be funny, but you know how we got recycling?
no.
We had a choice between recycling or an incinerator. So if you can say composting or an incinerator, composting will win. But that was literally the debate at the time, incinerator or recycling.
All right. Font of knowledge, Mr. Janoga.
Doing what I can do.
I do have a number of other questions. I'm going to skip to the animal services for a minute. Wanted to ask about what more we can do on sort of spay and neuter and TNR. I know that in the past there have been low-cost spay and neuter offered through grants, I think. Where are we on that this year?
So we do have a third-party partner, the Space Bot, that operates out of the shelter, and they offer spay and neuter significantly reduced from what you would see out in the community. So it's $165 for dogs. You can regularly see prices at your normal vet that would be 3 to 4 times that amount on a regular basis. So it is very low cost there. They're also doing it for the TNR out in the community. They have special days that they do at the facility. We offer free or low cost, if we can, spay neuter services. Mainly that's through grants that we get from other third parties, and we're continuing to go for those, including with the MDA. And it just depends on how much money the MDA gives us, and then we put that out to the community. And there is always more need than there
Right.
is money for. We just for spay and neuter of our RTOs, which are return to owners, and adoptions, is running about $300,000 a year.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So we're pursuing more grants for the TNR and for the low-cost spay neuter. And has it tailed off some? My understanding was that there may have been grants that, I don't know if these are federal grants or state grants.
I wouldn't say necessarily that it's tailed off. Just the need is much more than it's ever been, and the shelter is also overcrowded. But a lot of our partners, if any of you are speaking to the TNR partners we have across the county, as well as some of the other like SPCA, other organizations, they're also going for that grant money. So it
Okay.
is overall much more
see.
than we have here. So even if we get, $10,000, $20,000, there's 6-figure sums as a whole across the county.
Okay, great. And approximately how often do you have those events?
So for the spay and neuter, we don't do those as events at all. The events that we do would be the vaccination clinics, and we're running that 6 times a year, and we're estimating to serve about 2,000 animals in the county this fiscal year. And we're offering that super low cost at $20 for both the rabies and the microchip. But we
Okay.
don't run clinics for spay and neuter. We just set up times.
Okay, okay. So a few times a year, maybe?
It's rolling, so as long as we have money, we try to go through it as fast as possible. We could probably spend $15,000 to $25,000 every single month, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, well, obviously it's important so that we don't get as many pets or
Yeah.
animals coming in. Okay, thank you. I want to also ask about capital needs at the animal shelter. I understand there's some ventilation issues there, and that contributes to the illnesses and all that. What kind of capital needs, are there, and do we have cost estimates, and how can this council be helpful? Dr. Moki.
Yeah,
I have general information about what is going on because we work with David on that issue. We're currently working with Office of Central Services, and there is a project in place to redo the entire HVAC system.
Okay.
So that's going to be really a big relief for that facility. In addition to that, we've done several other capital improvements at the facility that has made it look much better, cleaner. And it's an ongoing project with Office of Central Services. And David, maybe you may want to add some more details.
so right now, originally, there was $2.7 million that were allocated for CIP projects at the facility. That was increased through reallocation in CIP to $3.1 million.
Okay.
There is ductwork that is being replaced in our main placement room, as well as the one unit that's in there is going to be 2 units. So we'll have redundancy should one of those units go down, which sometimes may happen when it gets super cold or very hot. That can be an issue. And then we're doing a lot of work with the kennels in intake 1 and placement, which is our 2 biggest rooms in the facility. But there is a huge need. I would say the $3.1 million is probably covering about 50% of the biggest needs in the facility. but there is still a lot of need in there. In the total amount of projects, 9 projects we originally had scoped, I think we're getting to about half of them with those funds.
Okay, so about 50%, half of the need will be taken care of by the funding that you have now, or this coming fiscal year. Okay.
They are funds that we have right now that are being
Yeah.
allocated projects right now.
Okay. Okay. So the other 50%, I mean, is that the same cost, do we think? I mean, maybe this is an OCS issue, although you live it every day, so you probably do know more about it than OCS. Is that something that could be done if we had the funding? Like, or is this like a multi-year project? I don't have any idea what the scope is.
I think one of my favorite phrases with staff is that all things are possible with money,
Mhm.
right? So I think if you can find us more money, we can most definitely spend it. That's not a problem. But in terms of the scope of the project, to give you an idea, because we started with 9 and we estimated it was going to be 2.7 million, and we've completed about half, we'd want to go back in and really do an estimate. What is the true cost across the whole facility? And I would say it is probably about twice that amount would be accurate.
So another 3.1 million.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chair, Mr. Battle, we should be, I spoke with Chairman Barnes this morning. We should be teeing that up in our CIP, I think. So, okay. Great. Thank you. And then last question on animal services, veterinary care and capability and equipment for that, the needs, I know that there are animals that need veterinary care, and how much are we still in need for like the equipment, on the equipment infrastructure side? Well, and I guess on the veterinary side too.
So I think we could always use more veterinarians, but going from what we had before, which was 11 hours a week of veterinary service, to going to 40 hours a week full-time, plus those still 11 hours, has been a significant change in our operation and much better consistency of care across all the days in the facility. So that's been pretty great so far. I think if we were to bring in some of the spay and neuter, that could offset some of the costs we're paying, like I said, $300,000 to our third-party partner. In terms of the tools that they need, that is part of this $3.1 million CIP project. So we're actually creating a pre-op space, an operating space, and a full treatment room.
Okay.
We're going to have an x-ray in the facility, hematology, all sorts of other equipment we don't have anywhere in the facility right now that'll allow us to diagnose in real time what's happening with the animal and then make quicker and better decisions on how we give care.
Okay, great. Well, sounds like you're moving along on a lot of that. So thank you for that. Dr. Moki, I want to say, Director Fisher's done a great job, and, we appreciate the work that he's done in his time here so far. And please stay in touch with us on what more we can do to be helpful on that. Mr. Chair, I don't want to monopolize, but there are a whole number of things, but I would just say the climate action plan, maybe you'll ask about that. But
No, I was leaving that to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's my job.
I had
Broadly-
all the animal shelter questions on my list.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, climate action plan, where are we on that, and how much have we been able to accomplish, and how much can we do to assist with that?
So I'm going to speak on that, and I may call one of my colleagues at DOE to further expound. There's one issue with the climate action plan that even myself I'm struggling to understand, and I have spoken to staff over and over, and it is that we believe that the plan should be treated a little bit separately from the CASP, the Climate Action Implementation Strategy Plan. The plan is already been prepared, and there is a draft across on the plan, which means it's not the real thing. And maybe this is an opportunity for me to understand what I understand the CASP, because there are still some elements there that need to be completed. But the plan itself, maybe this is the moment that I may need to understand from the county council. Why can't we take the draft off and then work on the CASP to finish up the other 5 elements that are there?
I just want it implemented. I don't know what the distinction is between. I mean, yes, draft. I don't know that it should be draft. We need to adopt it and start moving forward. I think I would wholeheartedly agree with that. So the next step on that is what, to send? Do we have to vote on it again? I thought we voted on.
We voted on it as a draft. We were requested not to make it final at that time so that more consultant work could be done.
Okay.
And then we were asked not to do anything because people didn't want us to do anything. As Department of the
Right.
Environment, basically, well, I'll say Department of the Environment, but I think with a message that came from above Department of the Environment, I think as people were afraid that if we adopted it, they'd have to do stuff. And it was easier not to have to do stuff. I see it there. It's before your time. And Mr. Olson and I have been holding back, but it seems we defer to the administration, the prior administration. If it's time to stop deferring and we can just wrap it up, that would be great. But it sets the framework. There's a framework, and then there's implementation. And
Yeah.
once again, since I'm term limited and happy to leave, I can say stuff. There are 2 elements, one with land use directly and one with activity centers, land use related matters and tree conservation. And essentially going back an administration or 2, they did not want to upset the development community by adopting policies or looking like they're going to adopt policies that might impede development as bottom line. It's like, we don't want to touch this stuff. So meanwhile, we've done development the way we've always done development, which is not always helping us in the long run. Okay, but that's what the problem was. Once again, been around long while, know where these things happen. But it'd be nice to wrap this up. And climate and land use is a tough, set of trade-offs. But you got to deal with it. So we have a new administration. Hopefully they have a different perspective on moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an important conversation. This is I guess, at the crux of what we need to do to fulfill our climate goals. I mean, we are in a climate crisis, and we are a county that's committed to doing the right thing by our climate. So, yeah, we should be take the draft off and start working toward it. So let's do that. Let's collaborate on that. I don't know what steps need to happen, but Mr. Battle, let's make sure that we get this on our agenda and follow up with the administration.
Well, maybe it was meaningless at the time, but the Department of the Environment wanted to look at additional consultant comments because the original draft was rushed at the end. There was hundreds of comments from the public, and they basically got stapled on the back of the draft. And I believe that the Department of the Environment wanted to bring back the consultants and polish it up and make that part of the actual draft plan. But then, as far as I know, if the consultants were hired, there was no finished product. So as far as I know, and I could be wrong because it just went into a black box over here in DOE, you guys had the final input into the draft. And so if you have none, then you have none. But if you have something that needs to be added to it, let's get it done. I don't want to create another task force. I created the first task force, and that went pretty well. But if you have your staff who are on top of this, and they can sit down with Mr. Olson and I, this committee, and we can just hammer it out and get it done.
Now, so we have an agreement on the action climate action plan. The CASP, there are 5 remaining items. We are currently tackling 2 of them. And I think the three that is left is the hardcore land and all, So honestly, I don't know how to go about this because you have park and planning involved, you have even DPW&T, DPI, the county council. I don't know who else gets involved. I have spoken to my DCO, and we are thinking of bringing, I don't know, I've been spoke to, is it Ken or Alex who advised, let's try to get a work group and get this done.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, an internal work group. I think that is all we need.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we have the DCO here. Yeah.
yep. Great.
I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Moki.
Mr. Adams, were you up next?
My distinguished colleagues have covered most of the questions I had, but I will make some broad statements and because it's important. I'm trying to figure out your communications to the community about your services and what and how we should go about them. And what I mean by that is I'll use composting as an example. How are we constantly reminding? I've been through this before, and it's about the message. It's about constantly reinforcing, and that goes with many of the services you have. Do you have a mechanism where you consistently reach out to the community and engage them in education on the services that you provide?
Sure, we do. We use everything that we can. The old approach, you use the website, right? Everything is there. We use social media, which is really the way to go now. We even collaborate with the county council. I mean, when you have events, we're always available to stop by and man a table. We've done that. We've attended community events that we showcase the services that we provide. So we have a wide span of communications and outreach. You may know that the Department of Environment recently added a division that is dedicated to community engagement. So we're out there. Sometimes it's tough to get these messages across. For example, every single person who receives a composting bin gets, of course, a literature that tells you what is acceptable and what is not. But as recently as last week, I went to a composting bin, right there with plastic. So it's a continuous process of education and outreach, and partnership with the county council goes a long way to help.
Go ahead, please.
Excuse me. May I add to Sam's statement that we also do a direct mailer annually to the county residents about the composting program. And in print right now, we don't have the copies back yet, but we do have a new compost brochure that will be distributed, because what we're also trying to communicate with the public about is the impact of food scraps going into the landfill. It does create methane gas, which goes back to the conversation about, our climate. So we're really trying to get that information out there that, by diverting the food scraps into the composting program, we're going to start to reduce and potentially eliminate some of this methane gas that's being generated at the landfill.
Okay. Well, what I'm curious about, where these composting bins have been distributed, do you have the districts that they've been distributed in?
It's
Yes.
countywide. Yeah.
But not the municipalities that do their own. Not the municipalities that do their own. So I assume Bowie does its own.
Yeah, we do our own. but
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what other.
Yeah.
It hasn't been concentrated in any area, is what I'm saying.
This is an open service to every resident in the county. So it's been distributed to just about everyone and
Okay,
every
okay. district. Yeah, because where I was going with that is simply, I think you make a good point about it being a task of all of us. And I think it's important as we send out our messages to our communities, on a regular basis, that the county council members as well do the same, because it's about reinforcement. We have to understand that we have new residents coming in who may not be aware. And, when we talk about climate and environment, I think one of the things we have to accept is that what you do impacts how our entire community is viewed. It makes a difference. It's about the quality of life. And so we need to all continue to support that and try to fill those gaps. But also, it's about information. And we need to be assisting you in making sure we do that. So I want to thank you for your presentation today, but also thank you for trying to make sure that we have a high quality of life here in Prince George's County. So thank you on that.
Ms. Hunter.
Good morning, and thank you for the presentation. So I'm going to shift a little bit. With the uptick in dumping in the county, can you talk to us a little bit more about your surveillance, the deployment surveillance, and how we could assure, well, I know in my district, the constituents that a lot of them are complaining that they call in and they're not being heard. They're actually witnessing individuals dumping. How could we, or I, help the constituents with that?
So I know where my limitations are in this department. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bennett, who heads that aspect of it in DOE.
Good morning. So yes, we do have a camera surveillance program that we have instituted. It's been up for a few years now. There are some challenges that come with this. These cameras aren't seen, so they're hidden cameras. So the goal is to catch the illegal dumper and possibly prosecute them through the process. There has been a challenge because even with the dumping that happens, we go out, clean it up, and roughly a day or so later, it's back. So this is an extremely large county, and of course, we're limited in terms of cameras that we can distribute. We try and find the hot spots. We work with 311. We work with DPW&T to find out like some areas where there is consistent dumping, and we try and put cameras there. So we put a camera here, and then we find out there's a hot spot over this. We have to move it over here. Then we come back here. There's more dumping that happens. So it's probably a resource issue. And it's also an education issue. So Councilmember Adams spoke on the fact that the messaging piece. This isn't just a DOE messaging piece. This isn't just a DPW&T messaging piece. I think this is all of our messaging. So when I was talking to my folks, if you remember the old Price is Right when Bob Barker was on there, what's the last thing he said? Can y'all remember? Spay and neuter. Y'all remember?
Yeah.
Don't forget your animals spayed and neutered, right? So it's on the mind. He said it every time. So if you think about it, like I didn't have an animal growing up, but I knew about spaying and neutering because Bob Barker said it. So so the conversation, even with my folks, we're trying to communicate that anytime you're speaking somewhere, speak on illegal dumping. Don't dump. You know, we have facilities that are available. We have the convenience center that's open. We're communicating that information on social media, on our website. You know, sometimes we send out flyers, et cetera, to get people. We have the resources if you live in the county to dispose of these items. We have bulky that we just put it out to the curb. they'll pick it up. The haulers will pick it up. You don't have to take it somewhere and just, put it off in the brush. But it's a community-wide effort that needs to happen with this, because it is a serious problem. While yes, we do have a surveillance, back to your question, we do have a surveillance program, that's in existence. The issue is the issue of dumping is greater than the response that we can give in terms of the cameras. So we're working with the county executive. We're working with our partner agencies to try and tackle these issues. Every day we're having calls about dumping, and we're providing resources, we're providing trucks. We are, DPW&T is, DPI is, we're providing inspectors to tackle this particular issue. But again, I'm telling you guys, as soon as we pick it up, it goes right back. And
Shouldn't you put a camera where you pick it up?
we do. And the reality is, one area in particular, I don't want to put it out there because it's a hidden camera, but one area in particular, we picked up, put a camera there, and we've already caught like 3 or 4 people dumping. Each time we went to pick it up, they came back, somebody else came back and dumped again. So we got license plates, we got all the information. So we're working with our law partners, meaning the state attorney's office, PGPD, to get these people prosecuted. So again, it's DOE, it's the county executive team, it's the council, it's the law enforcement agencies, it's the judiciary, because they need to make sure that they're imposing the proper fines. So it's a system-wide effort that needs to happen to tackle this problem.
And if I may add quickly, if that gives you additional solace, the county exec, this is a priority for the county exec. I can tell you that she manages this on a daily basis. And my boss sitting behind me, once we finish here, I know we're going to talk about cameras because we saw the email. So.
Here's the message. The message should be a picture of the people you caught dumping and the fines that have been assessed against them. Or go back to spay and neuter. I don't think that's an appropriate fine. But something monetarily equivalent to that. Like I've been dealing with this issue for 25 years. And it's always, we need more cameras, or we need to get cameras, we need a contractor. It's always the issue. So now it's great that the county executive is devoting lots of resources, but it seemed to be more cost effective that more of those resources be cameras and prosecution. I mean, so the question I had, and Mr. Harrison has a spin-off of the question, over the last 3 fiscal years, how many people have you caught, and how many of them have been prosecuted? If that's the right word, I'm not sure they're being prosecuted. They might just be fined. That's Mr. Harrison's question. Where does this go? Does it go to district court? Do we do it internally as a civil fine? But mathematically, or statistically, how many people are you catching? How many fines or prosecutions are taking place, and how much money is being recovered? Are you even recovering the fines?
So again, additional challenges. We are regulated with the number of cameras that we do have. This program was initially started through a pilot with a grant. It was grant funding. So the first year was pretty much standing up and figuring out our processes. Second year, I'm not going to say the number because I don't want to put it out there, sir. But the second year, between the second year and the third year, we're into the third year, we've had 26 prosecutions, and those are the ones, again, based on camera placement, we can see the vehicle, we can see the act, and we can track it back to a license plate. Again, there are challenges that come because a lot of these places that they dump are like heavy brushed, the lighting isn't great, you're dealing with power issues, etc. So this is a heavy lift. So of the 26 people that we put forth for prosecution, we do have 100% conviction rate. That being said, it is a fine, and conversations need to be had with the judiciary to make sure that they're that they take it on to impose the maximum fine, which we're finding that's not necessarily happening. So
So 20 years ago, myself and some folks went over to the courthouse and talked with them about not dumping, but just fines in general and how the judiciary doesn't seem to take it seriously. My expectation is this county executive knows a lot of the judges. Does this get handled in district court or circuit court?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. District court, yes. So we are in conversation with the DCAO amongst the groupings, meaning us, DPW&T, et cetera, of formulating a formal letter from the county side through the county executive, of course, to speak with the judges on the finding issue. So that letter is actually in development right now. Hopefully those conversations will happen soon. You know, and also there are some other aspects of looking at some of the legislation to maybe taking it from a criminal aspect to more of a civil aspect. So that way, we may get a better path in terms of fines and recovery through administrative fines, like how we do the red light cameras, as opposed to criminal, because that takes a while to get through the court system. So these are the conversations that we're having within our agencies to figure out alternative ways to address this issue. So
Do you need legislation?
there may be a need for it, and we will, of course, going through our DCAO and the county executives team. You may see that request soon. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if we can, I know we're up to $5,000 fine that we're allowed to impose in general. I'm not sure how it plays into this, but what about vehicle forfeiture?
That's probably something that we'd have to speak with the Office of Law on. In addition, and you do realize that not everybody that dumps in Prince George's County lives in Prince George's County. So we may need to tie in some of the other DMVs, whether it be out of DC or Virginia, to say if you have been caught dumping, until you pay that fine, you cannot renew your license in your particular state. So again, these are some of the ideas that are coming up from the departments that will more than likely work their way to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, you had a question on this?
Yeah, I'm curious as to whether or not you've done some kind of a cost trade-off and analysis of what the cost is when you're constantly going to a certain area to remove the dumping compared to what the cost of a camera would be there. So I'd be curious to know if you took all the costs of what it takes to go out there to remove it, and especially if it's happened several times, you know, what cost is that to the department versus what the cost of a camera would be?
I'm
So
sorry.
I would be interested in seeing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so typically, I'll speak to this to the 26 convictions that we've had. When we put that information forward, again, conversations with the state attorney's office, we were sure to get some guidance on how we can work to increase the fine. So now we're actually factoring in, if we catch somebody, we're factoring in the cost of the equipment, the cost of the personnel that it took to clean up the area, the cost of the tip fees or the weight of the amount of garbage or whatever it is that was dumped. All of that information will be factored into the actual packet that's sent forward when it goes before the judge. So it's not just that, oh, he was dumping or somebody was dumping XYZ. Yes, they were dumping this, but it cost the county X amount of dollars to clean up. So that is also factored into the fee as well.
Yeah, but I'm speaking more to all of the places, even where you don't have cameras already. What does that cost to go to those areas? And I know we talk about the cost of the cameras and getting, but what is the actual cost of cleaning up those areas, which you may have to do 5-6 times, compared to what the cost of a camera? And I really would like to see if there could be a cost analysis of what that looks like. And maybe that can be some impetus of maybe needing more cameras and just seeing that, because you may have the same spot 10 times, 20 times that you have to do it, and relative to the cost of a camera being there.
Understood.
And so I'd like to see an analysis like that we could all have, that really would present to us what is the advantage and what should we be doing there.
Understood. I will definitely, I've made a note of that. I'm sure that through Dr. Moki, we'll be speaking with our sister agencies and of course our DCAO and his crew, and we'll work to get that information to you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got several questions, but it's getting late, so I'm going to be quick on the questions and hopefully quick answers. Just on animal management and the spay and neuter. So you're saying that you already spend $300,000-$400,000 a year on that?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm just thinking that the count, at least myself, I might want to see about pushing a small increase, like a designated amount of money for that. Maybe we can talk about that. Because obviously, it's like you said, the demand far exceeds. And frankly, do you have a, you might have said this, do you have a zero cost or near zero cost for people who can't afford it?
So we don't have that as an official program. And to be clear, the $300,000 is mostly paid by people redeeming their animals or adopting. So that is not inclusive of grants and other things like that, which comes out of a completely different fund. So the $300,000 is actually mandated by code that we have to do that when they're going out of the facility.
Okay, so how much money out of your, I'll call it general fund budget, whatever budget you want to say it comes from, how much money are you, the department, spending on spay neuter programs?
About 300,000, because we're not offering any free services unless we get a grant, and we did not get a grant in this fiscal year.
Okay, that's something that's on my, might be on my wish list. Real quick question, whoever can answer it. On your slide, one of the slides, it talks about the hearings and adjudication of services. I'm just curious, what areas of jurisdiction is covered by the hearings and adjudication of services?
I believe that's, I'm sorry, do you know the slide number? Because I want to make sure.
No, I don't.
Okay, I think it's, boards and commissions. Okay, sorry. So yes, that's our animal commission, that's our towing commission. That encompasses all of that, yes.
Anything else? Just, okay, that's it. Thank you. Hazardous waste collection. I know you do this periodically. Just curious, how often are you doing this currently under this like current fiscal year, and what's the plan for next year?
Yes, we're holding monthly events for household hazardous waste.
And you're spreading them around the county?
Correct.
When's it coming up north? I have people asking me. We get asked this all the time.
Okay. I don't have that off the top of my head, but it is posted on our website. And of course, we can email it to you. But we do have all of the dates and the locations posted between now and December on our website.
Great. I'm sure my staff can find that. I can't, but they will. Andrews Air Force Base spill. What are you doing about that? Or what's your involvement, if any, and how bad is it?
So, Mr. Chair, Joint Andrews is a federal facility. And the state of Maryland, MDE, is really the lead jurisdiction here. And so what we do is we are collaborating with MDE. We've been having meetings with them, basically relaying the concerns of residents around the Piscataway area. And I think basically that's the extent of it. They are doing, we ask for testing. We ask for information about testing the wells around that general area to see how much that spill has seeped into the underground waters. Some testing is being done now in that general span of the area, but we haven't received, I just got an email today, but we haven't received the results yet. So we are holding regular meetings, at least weekly meetings with MDE just to make sure that we get updates on what is going on.
Okay, if you could let the council know what comes out of this, and particularly Mr. Harrison, District 9, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I think Mr. Harrison's chief of staff sent an email to me, and I'm updating that general group. I actually sent an update this morning, so it's there.
Okay. There's only 10 minutes left for Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
It might work for him.
They're saying, keep talking, Sidney, keep talking.
Come back another
Yeah, come back another day, right?
Reserve 3 hours for another day.
Mr. Moki's one of my favorite. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Moki. For my colleagues, it's, you know, it's such a collaboration when it comes to catching these environmental crimes that are happening in our community. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to ride with the aviation unit and see the county as a whole from a bird's eye view. And I saw all the illegal dumping sites from my human eye. And there's over 200 illegal dumping sites in the county. Now, when you give clear delineation geographically, as you know, these dumping sites are not only on in right-of-ways, on pass-throughs of the state or in the county, they're also on private property. And when people illegally dump on private property, that's a whole other process that individuals have to go through in order to remove that. Because individuals that own the property have property rights. So it's really becoming a burdensome challenge. And so just even to go up in the sky and look at these, you know, it costs fuel, it costs everything. So it's just not the cameras. It's just not the illegal dumping and removal of the stuff. There's so many other aspects of government that are tied into it, which we would really like to get a totality of what that number is, or just an understanding from a broad perspective. I think Councilmember Adams really made a good point with that. Secondly, I wanted to ask one quick question about the capture of methane gas and the opportunity of exporting that, where the county could actually make some financial gains from that will be positively, hopefully, be reinvested back into the Department of Environment, not going to a general fund. Is there any way that, have we gone down those roads yet, or is that too far in advance?
You're talking about the methane at the
Capturing it.
Yeah, capturing it, yes.
Capturing and selling it.
Yes, and that's exactly what I explained earlier, that we are in the heart of the procurement process for that project, and so we are not at liberty to divulge that much. But I can tell you that from what we have seen, it's going to be a P3 project, which means not a penny comes out of the county. And at the end of the day, we're going to be capturing, we're going to be selling the gas, and the county is actually going to be getting money. Yes. Hopefully, it's going to partly show up this.
Yeah. Okay, with that, thank you so much. This has been very educational. We'll take a look at your budget and we'll see what comes out of that, but appreciate it. And let's take a 2-minute break, literally 2 minutes. If you would all leave quietly, and trust me, people also usually just go stand there and start talking. We need Mr. Johnson, his crew to come up front. apparently leave quietly didn't register. Of course, the council members are causing the problem.
This is gonna be the easy one. What's up, man?
Yeah.
How you doing, man? I have zero questions.
Councilmember Adams, you're holding up progress and lunch.
No progress.
We're ready.
Okay. Transportation, Environment, Energy, and Infrastructure is back from a very brief break. And we are fortunate to have Mr. Johnson, Director of the Department of Public Works, and his team. I'll turn to Mr. Battle, who'll turn it to Sylvia.
Yes, indeed. We go right to Miss Sylvia King, our
Thank you.
analyst. So we have her presentation queued up. So let's go.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sylvia King, Senior Legislative Budget Officer, Budget and Policy Analysis, and this is a presentation for the Department of Public Works and Transportation's FY27 Budget Overview. This slide is an overview of the agency's structure, mission, and core services. And in FY26, the agency reallocated the Human Resources Unit from the Office of Administrative Services to the Offices of the Directors. And on this slide, new in FY fiscal year 2027 will be the creation of the Emergency Operations Fund. The purpose of the Emergency Operations Fund is to create a dedicated funding source to be used solely for emergency weather mobilization purposes, which will include snow and ice control, flooding, or other potential loss of life weather events as defined by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. The expected outcome of the fund is to have adequate funding to support Public Works emergency weather mobilization response and to avoid requesting reactive annual supplemental appropriations. Funding will be held in non-D and will be created initially with $15 million proposed from the general fund appropriation in fiscal year 27. In consultation with the legal staff, Ms. Canning and Mr. Hamlin, if it is desired that the fund be non-lapsing, that should be provided by language in the budget bill accompanying the appropriations. Ms. Cannon will be better able to articulate any legal questions related to the potential setup and other intended users of this fund. Additionally, non-D will come before the council next week in GOFP, and it is my understanding that the fund will be housed in the non-D budget. The fiscal year 27 proposed budget for Public Works is approximately $43 million, a decrease of $2.3 million under the fiscal year 26 approved budget. This is primarily due to the decrease in operating expenditures for all snow-related costs based on the creation of the emergency fund I just discussed to support weather-related emergencies. The department anticipates that it will need $26 million $24.6 million to support appropriations for general funds, in addition as supplemental. This is to support Project Elevate Strike Force efforts related to beautification, snow and ice control, and other related expenditures, which consisted of a total of 15 snow and ice control events for required plow contractors, heavy equipment contractors, and salt application. In fiscal year 27, expenditures in Public Works portion of the Stormwater Management Fund is proposed at $24.7 million, and this increase is primarily due to compensation and operating expenditures. The fiscal year 26 proposed general fund budget for Public Works is approximately $127.4 million, or $7.4 million under the fiscal year 26 approved amount before recoveries. Proposed operating expenditures decrease in fiscal year 27, primarily due to the bus system services, vehicle repair and maintenance, and gas and oil costs. Additional decreases are due to all snow operation costs being realigned to the new dedicated special fund, the emergency operations fund under the non-D. All weather-related costs will be funded through this fund instead of the agency's budget starting in fiscal year 2027. The proposed 2027 budget after recoveries will be approximately $10.5 million. Recoveries from other funds will decrease to $116.9 million under the fiscal year 26 approved levels, and these include the Washington Suburban Transit Commission, the Capital Improvement Program, Solid Waste Fund, and the Stormwater Management Fund. The fiscal year 2027 proposed Transportation Services Improvement Special Revenue Fund budget is $6.5 million and represent a decrease of $500,000 under the fiscal year 26 approved budget amount. The decrease is primarily due to transfers out based on the one-time transfer to the Capital Improvement Program for bus shelter construction. Net increase in operating contracts are for capital bike share maintenance costs and purchase and oversight of electric vehicles. Other expenditures support the Transit Vision Plan, the video wall at the Trip Center, and zero emissions plan. The fiscal year 27 proposed grant is approximately $1.2 million, an increase of $231,000 over the FY 2026 approved budget amount. New in fiscal year 27 is a Safe Routes to School grant for $231,000. The FY 2027 to 2032 proposed capital budget for the department is approximately $2.2 billion and includes 53 projects. Proposed fiscal year 27 capital expenditure budget for Public Works is approximately $150.14 million. There are no new projects and none were deleted. The proposed budget includes all funds expended to date, estimated expenditures for 26, total expected expenditures for the next 6 years, and the amounts anticipated for the projects beyond those 6 years. In addition, prior year unused funding allocations may be utilized for fiscal year 27. The department's portion of the fiscal year 27 to 32 Stormwater Management District CIP is proposed at $35.8 million in expenditures and includes projects such as the Blue Line Corridor infrastructure projects, pedestrian and vehicular access at bus stops, and transit-oriented development efforts in the New Carrollton Metro Station area. And stormwater management restoration includes their specific details in the CIP budget. The staffing complement for the department is 460 and increases by 1 for grant funds. As of March 2026, the department expects 101 funded and 12 unfunded general fund vacancies. A few highlights include the launch of Sunday bus service for its fixed route transit system scheduled for June 2026. The service will allow Prince George's County residents and visitors to access necessities 7 days a week. Additionally, the department will be launching an expanded on-demand mobility microtransit service scheduled for implementation beginning in the summer of 2026. Proposed fiscal year 2027 litter and beautification for median mowing, street sweeping, and illegal dumping for clean lots is approximately $4.8 million. The sidewalk infill and repair CIP project will be on the ballot this November, with proposed funding beginning in fiscal year 2028. The department is reporting that it reduced telephone costs to the tune of $332,000, or 62.1% in its general fund, based on a reduced need identified during a cell phone audit to eliminate zero usage accounts and reduce potential fiscal waste. Some expenses will realign to various funds, including the Emergency Weather Fund for automatic vehicle locator units used during snow and ice control. Some agency challenges are related to ongoing procurement constraints in fiscal year 26 and 27 related to stormwater, which threaten the ability to sustain restoration and maintenance operations needed to meet the December 2nd, 2027 NPDES permit compliance deadline. Snow and ice control response. The agency has identified the following strategies to mitigate challenges experienced during the 26 snow and ice control events: increase resources, enhancing communication tools, improving quality assurance, and enhancing 311 accuracy and wait times. These details are in the long report and in the first and second round responses to our questions to the agency. In conclusion, the issues with the taxicab regulation related to maintaining a quorum at taxicab board meetings and limitations in enforcement authority and resources, high vacancy rates and the high potential retirements at the agency. By the end of fiscal year 27, 118 or 35% of the agency's personnel are eligible to retire, with a fiscal impact of approximately $10.7 million if all eligible personnel do in fact retire. And by the end of fiscal year 29, 42% of the agency's general funded employees will be eligible to retire, with a fiscal impact of approximately $23 million if all eligible personnel do in fact retire. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll turn it to Director Johnson and get you the clicker. Make it easier for you.
So good afternoon, or good morning. Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of TIE. DPW&T is glad to have the opportunity to present highlights of our budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2027. Oops, did I do that right? The other way. There you go. Okay, sorry. Okay, so our presentation today covers current staffing levels and workforce considerations, significant program changes and initiatives, of which we have some interesting ones, some budget variances and fiscal updates, anticipated program outcomes, the impact on the A&I performance audit, and some key highlights from the CIP. So as always, we want to thank County Executive Aisha Braveboy for her solid support of the efforts of DPW&T in terms of moving through many of the challenges, regulatory and other, and operational, that the agency continues to face. But we have really strong support as well from her, as well as from our boss, DCO Kevin Stephen, and his team. This is our leadership team. To my right, Deputy Director Olushe Olubenli, who's no stranger to TIE, and Stacey Smalls to my left, also not a stranger to the committee. So DPW&T is organized into the following 6 offices: the Office of the Director, the Office of Highway Maintenance, Office of Storm Drain Maintenance, our Office of Engineering and Project Management, the Office of Transportation, and the Office of Administrative Services. This gives a general snapshot of the core services that the agency is responsible for. We're responsible for more than 2,000 centerline miles of county-maintained roads. And that turns into nearly 4,000 lane miles of roads that we are responsible for maintaining, which is important during inclement weather. 900 bridge structures, bridge and culvert structures, including sidewalks, curbs, and things of that nature. More than about 3,000 acres of grassy area, We operate a fixed route as well as a call-a-bus service, which has more than 2 million trips per year, and a very robust capital improvement program. So our staff complement, and I'm not gonna make this bigger. Can I disappear myself? Sorry. Okay. So as was mentioned, our headcount is staff complement is about 459 positions, nearly 460. We requested 42 general fund enhancement positions, but none of those were recommended to be included in the budget. We added one lit gift position for the Safe Routes to Schools grant. We unfroze one general fund position within the budget target to support operational needs. Our enterprise fund complement remains unchanged, and the agency continues to analyze vacancies to determine if reallocations are necessary to fund our operational needs. The agency submitted our budget on time and on target for both operating and CIP requests. The agency focus remains on strategic budget approach, emphasizing the county executive and agency priorities. New for fiscal year 27 is the establishment of the Emergency Weather Operations Fund. I just would like to take a brief minute to speak about that. One of the challenges the agency has faced is that it has historically been underfunded for snow operations, snow and ice removal operations. We typically received somewhere around $4 million a year for snow and ice operation. One big storm knocks that out of the box. There's an additional, more insidious problem with that method of funding, in that snow removal agencies need to locate and to put under contract their contractors well in advance of winter. It is not possible to do that in a robust manner with that level of funding. So this emergency operating fund, weather operating fund of around $15 million, is a game changer for the agency. Not only does it give us an ability to put under contract many of the contractors that we need, and we need, because of the mix of roads we have, contractors that have heavy vehicles, the 10-wheel dump trucks, the 6-wheel dump trucks, and of course the stronger 4x4s. Which, you know, a lot of our contractors were like landscapers during the summer, and they did snow in the winter, and they did not really possess a lot of the heavy equipment that was needed. This makes a difference because it impacts the manner in which we address our primary routes, which must be opened up first in order to keep mobility through the county. So this allows us to address that. It also gives us a buffer for big storms, which are hard to predict what the cost will be, what the fiscal impact will be. So I think that this is a wonderful program, and we appreciate the support that we got to get this going. So in addition, there's a point of clarity. The amount shown in the presentation was prior to OMB moving around $5 million to the emergency fund. So that there's a bit of a discrepancy there that is accounted for. On the CIP, our strategic focus on the CIP, we take a strategic focus on the CIP program using untapped cumulative appropriations, transfer of allowable funding to the CIP for transit-specific needs. There's a dedication of $2 million for LED conversions, as well as solar infill lighting. We have some communities in Prince George's County that never had street lights installed. And going through the utility companies, PEPCO or BGE, there's a long lead time and somewhat of a cost in getting that done. There's a new technology that's available which is portable solar lights, which we are piloting in one community. We're putting in 22 of those lights. They do look a bit space age, a bit different from the Cobra heads. So the way that we do a program like that has a change like that is we try it out and have the community get feedback from the community, as to their response to those lights. Of course, people do want lights, but aesthetics is also important to them as well. So we feel comfortable that that is a program that will help us to address the lighting deficit faster and at a cost that is, probably comparable at best with the utility companies, but certainly a lot faster. Pepco Light is about a year from a request to the time they install it. We also are introducing new technologies with our roadway paving as well. Many of our cul-de-sac areas, and we have more than 2,200 cul-de-sac communities in Prince George's County. Those roads which receive lower volumes of traffic, have historically not been paved on a regular cadence. And so you'll find that as we look at the records, that some roads have not been paved in more than 30 years. And there's a rationale for that, in that the money was traditionally spent in the manner that the agency had historically approached it, on roads that carried larger volumes of traffic, because the road would wear down faster. What we realized, and what we've recently pivoted to, is that roads that carry lower volumes of traffic also are carrying less load, so they don't need as thick a course of asphalt. So a new technology that we're using is something called thin lift. And the way in which we worked with our partners at SHA, District 3, and we also worked with the city of Rockville in Montgomery County, who has used this for about 50 years. They have about 50 years of in-service with this. It works really well. And we have adopted that and piloted it over the past construction season. It works well, but this will be used on low volume roads, particularly in the cul-de-sac areas. It allows us to pave a lot more of roads faster, and to do it at a cost that is more affordable than the $650,000 plus a mile that we pay to pave a regular road. So paving it's about $110,000. So you get about six times more coverage. So that's useful for our cul-de-sacs. It's not suitable for heavy roads that are carrying 10-wheel trucks, buses, and things of that nature. So the county executive has stressed that we are one government, working collaboratively, and DPW&T is in full alignment with that. So along in the spirit of that, we have some of the highlights of the Office of Highway Maintenance. The Highway Maintenance Office deals a lot with the litter and illegal dumping and debris removal. And if I could just take just a brief moment to speak, the DOE began to speak about the issue, and questions were raised by the committee on the illegal dumping. And one of the challenges that we have observed is that while illegal dumping is an offense to the eyes, and it's a sort of a scar on the community, our data that shows that illegal dumps are not the vast majority of the litter that is in Prince George's County. The vast majority of that litter is what I have couched as gratuitous littering. So people come off the ramps and they throw bottles and cans and boxes of food and things, everything possible out of the vehicle. In our collections and the data, we picked up last year more than 1.8 million pounds of litter, gratuitous litter from the roads. That far outweighs the litter, the illegal dumping from the 200 sites, and I'm not minimizing those. Those are sort of criminal acts and should be vigorously prosecuted. And one of the problems that I observed in looking at this is that the manner in which Prince George's County has approached tackling this problem has led to the 26 convictions over 3 years. I mean, and I think, and we have a solution that we think is different and will be more effective. It is currently being tried under the criminal statute, under Section 10 of the Maryland statutes, which is the criminal statute. Well, the bar for a criminal prosecution is quite high, right? So if myself and these two folks are driving in a car and we throw a bottle out the car,
He always says, I
right? Well, Olashe throws out the car. Who threw it out? right? So the defense is sort of like you're sort of setting up a way in which it's easier to defeat that. What we are proposing is that there's an alternative way, and DOE's Mr. Bennett mentioned it, and we're moving forward with it. We should try this under the an administrative statute, similar to what is done with speed cameras. And we are at the right time in human history where this is something that is achievable, because every camera can work with machine learning and AI, where it can read license plates. It can do things that it has an intelligence that is more than just taking a picture of trying to figure out who threw the bottle out of the car. So to that end, I have put forward a legislation that's going through review right now to allow us to try to have administrative citations. And if that is, the lawyers are looking at it, if that is permissible and we adopt that, I think that it would be a major game changer for us. Part and parcel with that, we're also working to put forward an RFP to get cameras that, along with associated software, that will be able to read license plates. And once I have your plate, I don't care who's driving it. If Ronald McDonald is driving your car or whoever's driving it, you're going to pay the fine. Oh, Olshay is driving it. Yes, thank you. Right? You're going to be responsible for the cost of it. Right? So we're moving forward with in that sort of a way, which I think will make a difference. And just to give some sort of related thing, Prince George's County is the most car-centric jurisdiction in Maryland. We have 3.3 billion vehicle trips a year that travel through our roads, not just county roads, state roads, federal roads, private roads, and so on. If we use the old 2080 model, that means about more than 600 million vehicles are contributing to litter, right? So if we can begin to sort of penalize those who do that, or who deserve to be penalized for littering, not only does it create a funding source that is renewable, because that littering is going to continue, that 20% will still litter, but it will have a chilling effect on others who litter. Just to give something personal for DPW&T, we clean the ramps in our partnership with SHA twice a week. We clean the 495 ramps twice a week. I am shocked every morning that I drive on those ramps, that the condition of the ramps. We have streets 142 streets that we call them hot streets. If we clean them at 10 a.m. in the morning, if you went back at 1 p.m., it looks like nothing was done, like a litter bomb was set off or something. It's the same sort of problem. So that cost that we are incurring, that $4 to $6 million a year that we spend, DPW&T spends to address that, is not sustainable. It is a waste of our money as a county. The opportunity cost of that money could be other things, beautification that is meaningful and more impactful. And we feel that those who besmirch the county in this way should be part of paying the cost of making us whole. Continue. So, as was mentioned, the snow and ice and mowing and vegetation and tree service, we have performance-based contracts that ensure that work is done in a manner that sort of addresses some of the concerns that I mentioned on the 142 hot streets, and nearly 600 other streets that we pick litter up from twice a week or weekly. Our road and pothole repair, is taking the response is longer. We have sort of like surge staff to sort of address areas like that. Can I continue? Working with a strike force, we worked with the county executives initiative, the strike force. It's important for us to work closely with the county executive, and as mentioned, we were really grateful for the opportunity to partner with Strikeforce. It's sort of been somewhat of a force multiplier that has helped us to address areas that have been problematic for us. We have reduced, in our recent initiative, we reduced outstanding tickets from over 780 to 0 in a very short period of time. We've also secured new contracts to ensure ongoing needs, and moving forward, we'll focus on right-sizing our operations, rebalancing resources across essential services to maintain efficiency and quality. We work really well with our partners at SHA District 3, and in the state of Maryland, there are laws that prohibit third parties from entering onto state highways to do work. And this has come out of a tragic history of workers being not only injured, several hundred of them, but also, unfortunately, a few years ago, a work crew was killed by an errant driver who drove straight into the work zone and unfortunately killed the workers. So Maryland's laws are very strict regarding working in state-controlled roads. But our good relationships that we've had with SHA allowed us to start get permits to enter onto three of their roads. We started with 202, 214, and 4, and we did regular sweeping, periodic sweeping, litter collection, supplementing the cleaning. And we've recently gotten permission to enter onto 25 roads. So 23 new ones. The ones I mentioned are on this list. And that sort of is a help. Now, we are not, as an agency, able to take on the state's cleaning of their roads, but we can, as needed, supplement areas that the litter is, because most of the roads in Prince George County that are heavily littered are state roads, largely because they carry more volume. And, that there's no real penalty for not littering. So this, I think, is another plus. On the environment side, as was mentioned with DOE, the climate change is real, and we're seeing it manifest itself seasonally, not only in very severe winters, but also in things that will affect different seasons. We'll have probably more hurricanes, derechos, things of that nature that can impact our operation. Storms are more intense. So we have 900 facilities that we maintain, 26 miles of storm channels. We serve all 27 municipalities, and we have a little over 8 miles of levees along the Anacostia River that sort of keep our low-lying communities safe from flooding. One of our more successful programs is the Right Tree, Right Place. So OSDM, our Office of Storm Drain Management, supports the county executive's environmental and beautification goals, expanding tree canopy and removing dying invasive plants to improve habitat in the county. This program improves air quality, urban heat island effects, and supports education and beautification. I think it's a great program. Trees are wonderful. They do a lot of good things for our community, and we are really pleased in the partnerships that we have to get those for our community. We also work with our youth and through outreach and communications. We collect school supplies during our Stuff the Bus activity for local schools and families. And we encourage volunteers to support neighborhood beautification, with DPW&T supporting the county executive at events stops. And we have a great one this Saturday, Clean and Green, Elevate the Scene. And we would love if you would join us in sort of helping to be part of the volunteer force that's keeping the county looking beautiful. Our summer youth enrichment program is a program where we try to bring youth in to sort of see some of the very diverse activities that the department works on. Public Works has many skill sets within the department, more than just litter. We have engineers, folks who plan buses, folks who deal with stormwaters, pump stations. There's a lot, we have a lot of technology in the department as well. And we're always a sort of a very fertile space for young minds to thrive and to be encouraged about their future. Transit-oriented development opportunities are huge and very important, as they sort of minimize the car centricity of the county. As I mentioned, 3.3 billion vehicle trips result sometimes in our roads being very dangerous. We want to sort of reduce that, and we do it. One of the ways we do it is through transit-oriented development, which has an economic pillar to sort of making areas more walkable and transit-friendly. We work with MDOT, SHA, WMATA on several of the signature TOD corridors that we're working on, including the Blue Line corridor, which is going to have a major economic, positive economic impact on Prince George's County. We work closely with our partners in economic development. One of the large and very exciting projects that is coming to Prince George's County is the Sphere. And anyone who's been to Las Vegas has probably been to the Sphere. Well, I think that that will be also available locally, and we'll be at National Harbor, and we are looking forward. DPW&T supports the development team in terms of reviewing plans, making sure it's transit accessible, things of that nature, and stormwater is addressed adequately. Okay, so transit has been rebranded. We have 35 years of service celebrating progress and the future of transit. We have a service expansion and rebrand, which aligns with the county executive's vision. PGC transit transformation with community input. We'll have new names, wrap signage, logos, and uniforms for our staff. There'll be a 35-year logo through May of 2026, rebranding and things of that nature that will sort of like spiff it up. And you can see images of those beautiful logos that are there that will sort of make our service look really exciting and welcoming for riders. And we hope to increase, our ridership continues to increase, and we hope that we plan to have that continue. We have a series of, I think I kind of spoke with that. We did do the bus stop installations that Councilman Olson, that you had requested. We did 5, and 9 of the 10 are installed. So we're making great progress in that. And here we go. So the Office of Engineering Project Management. So the NTMP program is designed to address traffic-related concerns in residential areas. One of the challenges that Prince George's County continues to face is the danger of its roads. We are the jurisdiction that has, unfortunately, the largest number of pedestrians who are hurt or injured on our roads. And this program helps to slow traffic down and to sort of make our roads a bit safer. So it usually involves a petition or application process, a traffic study by the county, and if certain criteria is met, the installation of solutions such as speed humps, signage, or road design changes. Community support is usually required before measures are approved, because even though there may be a technical merit for the installation, we still need to have the community input to make sure that the installation is done, in accordance with, public outreach. One of the things that we've recently done is that we have done a sidewalk assessment program. For many years, the agency did not have a clear idea as to how many miles of sidewalk we have. So we know that today we have 1,878 miles of sidewalk, 1,878 miles of sidewalk. And furthermore, this exercise that we embarked on, and you sort of see it in the inset with the little bicycle, we are using sensors that are able to sort of check for the gaps between sidewalks, the trip hazards, the cross slopes, things that make the sidewalk sort of unusable. So we have worked, and we'll be able to prioritize and develop a sidewalk program. As was mentioned, that will be a ballot issue next year to sort of dedicate funding for the sidewalk program, to separate it from our roadway program. Currently, it's bundled together, so you have two giants who are pulling at each other, right? We have roads that need to be paved, and then there's sidewalks that need to be done. We really want to separate it so we can turn it into a programmatic focus, give it a programmatic focus. This helps us in terms of like addressing the sidewalks, and for the first time, we are able to prioritize sidewalks that are super dangerous. Folks know we have a general idea where they are, but this gives us a way to sort of package them in a way that preferably a local firm would be able to address, because we are really sort of very committed to sort of working with local and small businesses. we do also the slurry seal, which protects our roads, and general mill and overlay. And I think that's about it. I'll stop and answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Hunter?
Yes, you want to come back to me?
Mr. Adams?
I think Harrison is ready.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I'm fascinated about the 3.3 million trips. And you're estimating about 600,000 trips, which could be potential people that could be littering.
I think your order of magnitude low, 3.3 billion.
Whoa.
Billion.
Whoa.
And 600, more than 600 million offenders are likely to be in that. Right, the 80-20 rule.
Oh, my math's still good though. Okay. So, so that's approximately around almost 20% of potential fines that we could be capturing. Is under state law, is there a threshold of what that totality of that fine could be? Have you looked into that?
I've submitted the draft legislation to the lawyers and would be advised as to what the threshold. The state does have thresholds. I don't know exactly what it would be. It doesn't have to be terribly high because the numbers are there to.
I have no remorse for people.
Oh, it's made as high?
That do things like that. You probably could call it the give a hoot, don't pollute ticket. That's what we grew up on. There was a national PSA, as you know. But just the amount of money that you could capture that could be invested back into your agency is like absolutely stupendous.
It is.
Off those numbers. And then the 1,800 miles of sidewalks, which is very interesting. My question is, when it comes to a repair of a sidewalk, we're talking about how big is just one slab of sidewalk? What is that?
So a sidewalk
dimension?
Is typically 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 inches.
4 feet.
Typically.
4 feet. Yeah, okay.
So it's
and how thick is the concrete?
4 inches.
4 inches. Okay. And what is the average cost of just repairing, like total replacement of just
it's about roughly, if you're just doing, it depends on the volume, but maybe $5 a square foot to do the sidewalk, something like that, somewhere in that range.
So
but
what
if
would
you
that-
have a larger amount, then you probably would get it a bit cheaper.
Okay. Now, is it true, and you hear things, but you don't know how true it is, but in other jurisdictions, like I've heard that in Baltimore County, the resident is responsible for the sidewalk and the replace. Is that true?
I think in Baltimore County that is true, and many jurisdictions have sort of moved away from and sort of put the onus, tied it to the abutters ordinance that we have that makes you responsible for snow removal. But in Prince George's County, that is not
the case.
That's not
right.
the case.
I know that.
Right.
All right. Well, I tell you, I hope that law actually passes because the District of Columbia seems to have mastered how to litter. The litter. Yeah. Right. I think they generate over 50-something million, 60 million in just revenue alone from those type of speeding tickets and stoplight tickets. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Adams?
I think one of the things,
Microphone.
When it comes to utility coordination, addressing damage caused by utility companies laying down lines under the county right of way is a continued kind of unresolved challenge. You know, are you all addressing those issues in the budget?
Now, the way that it works, Councilman, is that DPI issues, the Department of Permitting Inspections and Enforcement issues a general permit to the utility companies, to Washington Gas, to WSSC, or any other utility that has buried assets. And under that general permit, and it's in the, I think it's in the county code, the utility is required to restore the road from curb to curb. For a defined period of their work. So they can't, for instance, if they cut a small portion, they can't put a narrow trench in the middle of the road because that trench is hard to compact. It will settle and you'll end with water getting into the road. It breaks up the road ultimately. So that is really part of the general permit. So DPI is really the entity that is responsible for ensuring that those utility companies restore the road correctly.
So that falls with DPI.
DPI, yes, not
anything
DPW&T.
Okay, and I guess the other thing is, we talk about the bike infrastructure and the trail planning and the central and southern parts of the county. Are any of those addressed in the budget?
They are. You do it like this, the bike share, right? I think we do have plans for, I think, 2 locations in the south. I could double check. I think that was in the plan. But is that the question you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes. So there were locations for 2 locations. There's a plan for 2 locations in the south. We do have, we recently just did an installation in Greenbelt that was somewhat delayed. And we are continuing to work within the confines of the budget that we have to make that installation so that we have additional multimodal facilities for those who choose to use that.
So when you say within the budget, is it something you need to address as an additional funding, or how does that?
Yeah, we can. Well, Chrissy, if you want to speak to that.
How do I turn this? Okay. Hello. We could always use more money if council's willing to give it to us. So the actual infrastructure for the Capital Bike Share program is budgeted under our pedestrian safety CIP program. And then we have the operations and maintenance within our transportation network services special revenue fund. So we do every year plan to have more installed. But of course, that also comes with additional O&M costs, and we have to ensure we're not draining the special revenue fund to upkeep all of the infrastructure we're putting in. So it's a balancing act in that regard. But we do have multi-years of, hey, we want to do 2, we want to do 3 the following year, and we're constantly reevaluating that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Olson?
Thank you very much. I'll try to keep it brief, but I do have a lot of things. First, I want to thank you all for your work, especially Olshay and Vic for their hard work on the VDOT toll lanes. Thank goodness we put that to rest. And there's a new governor in Virginia, so we did our job for now. And I wanted to ask about the bus fares. I know last year you know, through this process, we stopped collecting fares, and then we're saving something like $4 million over a couple of years because of that. Just wanted to check in and see how that's going. Is that going like we thought the projections would go? Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. It's been quite successful, actually. Going free fares has allowed us to, as Director Johnson mentioned, increase the number of riders. So we're looking to almost hit 3 million this year. And it's comparable to Montgomery County, where anyone who has gone free fares in their system, we see that increased ridership. Now, there is also discussion about the challenges that does to other agencies such as WMATA and MTA. So we're working with MDOT on how best to do that. But the issue is the affordability of the free fare system, or of the fare system.
Okay, and so the increase in ridership has ticked up I remember seeing this stat from, a few
Yeah, it was
months
like-
ago, but
It was roughly $1 million last year, so or 2 million, and so we're
2 million, so
over
we've
exactly. So we're gonna hit that
added
1 million
50%
growth.
more.
Exactly.
Great.
So it's good.
Let's keep getting that data. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Appreciate you implementing that. The bus stop shelters, the bus shelters, I should say. I specifically wanted to ask about 64th and Riverdale Road. That's one that we wanted to prioritize. I know it has not been installed yet, but is that happening soon?
So interestingly, one of the so there were 10 locations that you asked
Okay.
us to do.
Okay.
9 have been completed. There is one that we have an issue with, so we are looking at this one that you requested.
That one that I really, really wanted has an issue.
Yeah, so we're looking at that. It may not be in FY26, but perhaps early 27. So no promises.
Work with me.
Sure, we'll make sure we work with you, of course, on this. But I do think this is a important point that we want to take a more holistic approach, a technical approach to adding shelters throughout the county. But of course, we welcome the partnership and the request that we get from council members.
This one has a lot. It's in a big apartment
The ridership.
complex right behind it. A lot of use. A lot. Probably needs to be an even bigger shelter than your normal shelters. We need 2 shelters there.
Yeah. We'll get it in.
Let's
Not sure if it's this fiscal year, but definitely, hopefully, this calendar
would be
year.
great. This
Okay.
year would be great.
Calendar year?
Let's work on that. Okay.
Sure, will do.
Thank you. Also wanted to ask about the road resurfacing on Riverdale Road. It's like a washboard where the waters come down and it just is bump, all these bumps, and it really it's like 7309 Riverdale Road, not far from Finn's Lane. I've raised this every year, and that's really important that we can get that done.
So it is on the resurfacing list. I'm sorry, it is on the resurfacing list, and I can get you the likely ETA for.
Okay, terrific. I'm interested in the solar lights. I know one particular place they've been asking since I first ran in 2006 for lights down their end, and they haven't been able to get them. They've gotten abandoned cars down their end of their street, so it's cul-de-sac.
Yeah, if you give me the
Would love to.
location.
Yeah,
if you
you
give
should
me
have
the
it, but I'll get it to you. Braze Court, I believe it is.
Braze Court.
I believe it is. Yeah. Well, we'll give that to you. And curious about New Carrollton Mobility Hub. What exactly that was in your presentation? What did that mean? Yeah, it was called Mobility Hub. It's the first I've heard of that, but
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
it was in presentation.
Yeah, I think the term. Yeah, so the term mobility hub, as you can imagine, right? New Carrollton, TOD, multimodalism, it's the hub of what we're trying to see in the county. What's so funny?
What is it? Like what?
Well,
What do you do? Yeah.
mobility, right? So multi-mode.
So we're adding mobility. We're adding.
Well, if you think about New Carrollton, it already has that.
Yes, it
right?
does, yeah.
Rail, transit, but we want to expand that.
Expand. Yes.
Exactly. So we could share you more information on the grant, the New Carrollton grant that we are working on with economic development and how we want to expand.
So this is more about the rebuilding the entire station and all that. Is that what you're referring to?
The expansion of it. So not just within the limits of New Carrollton, but how do you get to the station, right? So pedestrian improvements. There are a number of enhancements that we're doing in conjunction with the grant.
All right.
So
Great.
we can share that with
Let's
you.
work together on that.
Sure.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you.
Of course.
It's great. Good stuff. Love the sidewalk stuff. We need more sidewalks. Campus Drive. I know Director Johnson, you mentioned that it will be repaved this spring.
Yeah, they're in the process of getting close to
Great.
To getting going on that. So
terrific. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. And then great work on the phone savings. I don't know if we're doing, thank you, excellent job. Let's do that across the county government, maybe, if we can send that back up the chain of command, because that's real savings. Thank you for the innovation.
If I could add,
Please.
someone who actually on our team who spearheaded that was a direct hire from our SYEP program.
Intern.
So it just, yes, correct, intern. So it really does, full circle moment.
All right.
And it allows us not only just to say, okay, do we need all these cell phone lines, but do we need them for the entire year? And the answer is no, because if we need most of them for snow to combat with our AVL units, why would we pay for them for 9 months? So we're looking at waste watch type things for the entire agency to see if we have other opportunities for savings.
All right, great. That's great. And then just wanted to ask briefly about the 42 positions that were not recommended for the budget. And that's a lot of positions. What were they like labor positions? They were like, what were the, I don't need a whole breakdown. Yeah, well, I want to understand that a little bit better.
Frozen positions.
Yeah, right. Well, and the chair makes a good point, which I didn't quite elaborate. You have vacancies, and then you want to add more positions. What should we just be? Should we be filling the vacancies? Should we be reclassifying the vacant positions? I just didn't quite understand.
Some of the positions are hard to fill roles, like some of our engineering positions are hard to fill. So we've recently had a change in how an engineer is defined. An engineer is now defined as a person with engineering training, but also who possesses a professional engineer's license. Now that works well on the design side, like the folks who do bridges and things like that. That's more typical. But if you have an engineer who's very experienced, who's on the construction side, usually they weren't required to have a PE. Which so really it has been difficult to sort of hire the person. So you have candidates who are super qualified, but they don't meet the criteria for the position. So those positions have somewhat been challenging. Some of our transportation planning, IT, and management level positions are also challenging to fill. And truth is that everyone in DPW&T is required to work snow as a condition of employment. That sometimes is a deterrent to people.
Yes.
They're ready to go, and then what? Nope.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Exactly.
So they don't necessarily want to do that. So we're looking at ways to sort of mitigate those sorts of challenges.
Okay. But I guess I don't understand. So I know engineers, I know we talked in another committee meeting with another agency, I forget which one, about the engineering, and that that reclassification did happen, or the compensation study happened. And has that helped or not helped?
It is hurt.
Is hurt. The compensation study has hurt.
Has hurt, yes. It makes it difficult to read because I mean it works if we were just hiring folks for the bridge division.
Yeah.
It would help. They come out of the consulting world. They're required to have a PE, and that probably is not so much a problem. But say like OSDM, we've had the storm. Oftentimes you want someone with a strong construction background who may have 30 years of experience, X years of experience, but they don't have a license. They never were required to take the license. So they can't actually work as an engineer in that field.
So are you trying to add positions that are not engineers?
Something that we've looked at is the project manager career, manager type of classification.
Okay.
And so people who, like what Director Johnson described, people with tons of years of experience, they can go up a project management type of career field versus the engineering, and still help us with the different management resources, people, money, to help us keep our operations and things going.
Okay, so let me, Mr. Chair, sorry, I'm still trying to understand this. So the proposed new positions would in some ways take the place of the vacant positions that you have?
No, these are and let me just clarify. So what we submitted for FY27 that were unfunded was what? Director Johnson was referring to. Our high need areas, the engineers, IT, planning, project managers. And that's what was unfunded. Now, what Stacy and Director Johnson were referring to was how we can right size what was done with the class study, which you have your engineering class series, and then you also have your project managers, which solves the compression issue that was created with the study.
It's as clear as mud.
I know. What's your direct question so we can answer it?
Well, we want to get you the,
It was unfunded. So
yeah,
we put in a
unfunded.
request and it was not approved.
I understand there's a problem. There's a problem with not having enough people. You also have a lot of vacancies, which may not be the right things that you're trying to fill.
No,
There's
exactly.
this issue with the engineers that it's been the compensation study has happened, which has made it more difficult for you to fill those positions, which are now requiring an engineering degree or license, I should say PE. But you don't need a PE. You're contending that you don't need a PE for a lot of those. You need a project manager.
The project manager would be doing similar things, and they would not need to have a professional engineer's license.
So I guess what I would say, and I know Mr. Steven is here, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but can we figure this out in this budget? It sounds like something might need to change in this budget so that we can get you the appropriate. We don't want you to have the vacancies and things that you need.
Can I clarify the vacancies piece too? Because there is the hard to fill, more technical role, but there are field staff as well. So you have transit operators, laborers, trades helpers, equipment operators, which are the other side of the vacancies that we're trying to fill as well.
Right.
Which is a different strategy. Those jobs are harder to fill. You have a competitive region where the Amazon jobs and all of those are more attractive than some of these roles. And so we're looking at filling those vacancies as well. So I don't want you to see the vacancy number and to confuse that with what we actually need.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, it seems to me that we need a little more digging into this issue that we aren't going to be able to solve here at the committee today.
Ms. King can help us out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I want to make sure you have the resources, and the position, the appropriate position. And if the compensation study made it more difficult, well, then we have to address that somehow.
Well, OHRM is addressing that, and I think
they are
at that point, and that's what Stacy was saying about OHRM creating the project management series, because there are certain. Go ahead. There are certain titles that don't fit perfectly in the engineering class series.
But are those within these 42 positions? The new.
Some of them.
They are right. So then we need those positions.
But the change has collateral effects across agencies. Like DOE has engineers, DPI has engineers, we have engineers. So I don't think that it should be addressed, but I think that a more comprehensive way of looking at it and the impact, because a change made that benefits DPI can hurt DPW&T. Right, because you're using the same sort of job classification. Right, and not take it. So a DPI engineer who's looking at plans and codes may need a license, right? But a guy or a lady who is dealing with the construction, the sort of brick and mortar field type work, the P is less.
So we just need to make sure that we just have the appropriate job description for the job.
We need more time to look into it.
And we do. Yes, I agree. Okay. Mr. Chair, I'm going to thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simple point is they didn't get to 42. So if we want to help them get to 42, your point is maybe we need to do something about the vacant positions. Yeah, good job. At the end of the day, it comes to how much money you're going to get. That's the end of the day. Okay, so I've got some questions, and I'm going to do rapid fire because we're running late again. And since I go last, I'm last. I always ask this question, so I'd like to get the list of roads that you've paved for each district, for each council member. the ones that have been done recently, and then what you're going to do this construction season, and maybe what's coming next in the next fiscal year.
Okay.
And it gets a little weird because your construction season overlaps with the fiscal year.
Right.
And along those lines, I asked you about pedestrian safety on Selman Road in Beltsville, and you're going to have people look at that. Is that in process?
It's in process. In the preliminary conversation, I think that part of the challenge was the right of way. I think there was limited right of way to put in a sidewalk, but they are looking at it. The engineering group is looking at it, and I haven't gotten a response from it. I'll follow up and see what's.
So the opposite side of the street has plenty of right of way, not ours, but it's Bark property and federal government, which there's plenty of space between the fence and the road, but getting them to agree to anything is probably difficult. I understand the problem along Selman Road, but like I said, this is a community center down there, and there's no safe way, well, it's not a good safe way to get there along Selman Road. The referendum, I didn't understand the referendum. It's in, I think, the council staff PowerPoint. Am I, well, it says after, it seems to relate to the bus shelters. I don't understand what this is. There's a little note that says after this has been enabled by voters in the next scheduled general election. What are we talking about?
I'll take that. So we actually, last year, as part of our budget submission, we created a new CIP group for sidewalk repairs. So it's not going to be enacted until fiscal 28.
Oh, okay, it's just part of the regular bond approval that you get. Okay. I'm thinking there's some other, okay, very good. I've gotten requests for some bus shelters, and actually where the bus stops are, and this is more, I think, on Rhode Island Avenue in Beltsville, maybe Powder Mill Road, but the trash does not get picked up frequently enough. So there's a trash problem where there's trash all over the ground. So need to deal with that. I can get the particular addresses, but also we'd like to get bus shelters in the same locations. It sounds like that's a project in and of itself. So I'll get those addresses. I asked you about Springfield Road. I've gotten complaints about Springfield Road for years. I drove down there from Powder Mill up to Odell. And there are potholes every 100 feet, but then there's like 20 potholes. It's more like the whole road needs to be repaved. But that's a long, long stretch. I think you were going to look at that. I raised this months ago. Has that been explored at all?
Yeah, we also want to, sorry.
Come on down.
Kate Mazzara, Associate Director for Office of Engineering and Project Management. I haven't met some of the newer council members, but yes, we did a long stretch of Springfield Road just about 2 or 3 years ago, so we know that the rest of it needs to be done. It was actually one of the roads that we were looking at, maybe a different type of alternative pavement treatment, ideally called cold in place recycling, but I don't think we're quite there yet, so we're probably gonna have to look to cut and patch those sections for now that are really bad.
I just drove down there last week, and there's a lot of sections. You know, I wish it was just like, oh, there's one bad section, but it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Along that vein, I brought up Gunpowder Road, and I think you guys got out there to do some stuff on Gunpowder, but it gets beat up from all those the trucks coming out of the Conterra sand and gravel operations. It's still in bad shape. Is there anything we can do about that? Because it's going to, I know it's going to get beat up. I usually don't push on this because I know how difficult it is to deal with all that pounding, but people complain about this constantly, and they're right, because you have the aquatic center right where all this problem is. There's the aquatic center, the golf course, gymnastics. So there's a lot of people down there all the time. The people are parking on the shoulder. So is there anything we can do about Gunpowder in that section, basically from Briggs Cheney?
Yeah, up to where we already researched, because we did a large section a few years ago. So the second section is on
In the large
Yeah,
section,
we
there
did
was
from 198,
down a little ways, yeah.
right? and
Mr.
then-
Abraham got that done.
So then we're, so again, it is on our longer term list. We could look for something.
Yeah, I'm thinking just from Briggs Cheney up to the golf course is really
Okay.
the main problem area. My staff's been raising an issue, because the constituents have been raising an issue on Rhode Island Avenue near Powder Mill Road. Some contractor months ago dropped cement and stuff, and it doesn't get cleaned up. We've raised this multiple times. Do you think it's been cleaned up? Is there something that I'm not aware of?
I don't think it has been cleaned up. I mean, I spoke with with some residents about it. I think it's hard to get it up, really. I mean, I think that in the winter, plows will probably break it up, because it doesn't have any structure in it.
Mhm.
It might just be a surface. It might be more aesthetic than anything else. So over time, it would probably be removed, but it would be difficult to really get it off without damaging the road, like milling it. I don't know how we would really easily get that off the surface if someone did a skim coat of concrete. Yeah.
And it's on Rhode Island, or is it on Powder Mill?
It's in Rhode Island, I think, near Powder Mill.
Okay.
I mean, we can take a look at it, but I think that we'll have to see what. Let me check on that.
Yeah, all I can tell you is that this is a regular complaint in Facebook in Beltsville. And then everybody piles on and says, you know, the county, they don't respond, they don't do this. And we're there going, yeah, please give us, give us a break. We're trying to do something.
Okay.
In terms of litter, illegal signs is always a problem. I get complaints all the time. I always feel like pulling over and start, picking up signs, but I figure that's probably not the best idea. Are you going after companies that do illegal signs, or is it just too much trouble and it's just easier to pick them up?
We just picked them up. DPW&T doesn't actually have the ability to do any citing, so we would not go after. I think DPI might be able to do that if they so desire to do that.
Because that's one of the, I think, the largest sources of litter. I'm just guessing. I mean, there's, particularly in certain locations, there's a sign after sign after sign, and they blow over, and then somebody puts up a new sign, I guess, or you take them and they put up new ones. And it's just, it makes the county look really bad, because it's one thing to have trash in the gutter. It's another thing when the trash is standing up.
Right.
It's a lot more visible, which is the whole point of the sign.
But we aggressively working with the strike force effort and other partners, state partners, coordination with the state. We routinely pick up signs, but they're back as soon as like mushrooms. They're back as soon as you pick them up.
Strike Force did a great job in Beltsville yesterday, cleaning that lot across from High Point High School. So that was quick response and very well done. And I think the last thing I want to ask, I've raised issues about NTMP in the past, and I've talked about trying to make some changes. It's so hard to get speed humps, which is probably a good thing, but I think you move more towards other types of calming devices. But I just want to make sure it's easier to get to those calming devices. And I'm not sure the scoring gets us there, the current scoring. Have you been looking at modifying or have already done modifications to the scoring system?
We've taken a closer look, a deeper dive into the NTMP program, and then there are a few. There's one other thing that we're putting new things into our toolkit. One of the goals of the NTMP program is to help slow traffic down ultimately, regardless of what measure you use. And speed humps are or speed tables are sort of one, and I think that we are following with that what other counties, Montgomery County and some others have done. So I think we're fairly consistent with that. One of the new changes that we're looking at is a quick build like roundabouts. So these are a regular roundabout takes a long time to build it, millions of dollars to build it. But there are ways in which we can build those in a manner that is almost sacrificial. So we're not making permanent. It serves the same function as for channeling traffic and slowing the traffic down, but it's not necessarily like you're pouring hard curbs and concrete and steel and so on like that. They can be built in a manner that is cheap, probably about $100,000 where our numbers are. So we're introducing those. other
What about
features.
bump outs or things like bump outs? I think there's something else called chokers.
Chicanes, yes.
Or chicanes, but are you doing those?
Yeah, Kate, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Oh, yeah, we have done. I mean, Montpelier road was one of our projects where we actually introduced quite a bit of the bump outs and the medians. I mean, that is a bit of a larger CI.
It's a serious big project.
Well, that was a long stretch,
Yeah.
but for other roads, it is something that we have done in the past and is in our toolbox, but it is a little bit more of a CIP heavy unless we look at more of these, what we call like the.
Now, years ago, you put in little mini islands in Montgomery Road in Beltsville.
That was also a larger CIP.
It was a larger CIP that got shrank down to next to nothing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like 3 little mini islands. So my question is, do you consider those islands to be successful? Are they doing what they think?
On Montgomery Road?
Yeah.
I mean, that is not a road that we get too many complaints on.
We used to get a lot of complaints about
Right.
speeding. I'm just wondering if that's a tool that you guys are looking at. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. And it is. And one of the challenges with permanent roundabouts is that you have to go through like the whole design and then construction and permitting and so on. It takes time. And, our roads have real challenges and safety issues for pedestrians. So we're pivoting to finding quick ways to build, features that help to slow the traffic down. Because ultimately, if you can slow a vehicle down, it's less risk to the car losing control and leaving the road, or striking a pedestrian who's not paying attention or is wearing dark clothes at night or something like that. So we are in the process of sort of developing that and thinking of sort of even dedicating funding separate from our paving funding for pedestrian safety, quick builds like that. So that if a road is brought to our attention that has those sort of issues, we are developing mechanisms to sort of address that faster within the constraints of the engineering rigor that is needed for traffic control devices.
Okay, yes.
And I'll just add, we are, continuing to look at pavement markings, other things that can be quickly implemented. Like I think Bond Mill Road turned out pretty well, the WSSC project, but we added the parking, the striping, we do wider lane lines. We did do some raised crosswalks there as well. So we had some of those other tools.
By the way, because it's so successful, I have a request from West Laurel for another raised crosswalk.
On Bond Mill?
No,
We gave them two.
on Bounds.
Oh, okay.
It's a big cut
Well,
through.
certainly, but that is something, I mean, even just with driver feedback signs, we also have been looking more at psycho perspective markings. I don't know if people have seen that, but where you kind of put lines in, and it's just supposed to kind of make the driver feel, the whole point is to make them feel like the road is smaller, because when they feel like it's smaller, it's going to
Bond Mill
slow
Road's
down.
turned out very well.
I think so. I've driven it a few times, and
Yes.
Miss Barbara has not she seemed very happy, which to me was successful.
She's so happy she wants to raise crosswalk
Okay.
on Bounds.
But that was she was she was tough on us, and but I think it
She's
turned
tough-
out.
She's tough on everybody.
Yeah, I think it turned out really great, and working with WSSC, but those are tools that aren't super expensive when you're talking about pavement markings and things, but they can make a difference. So.
Last thing so I can get us out of here because I forgot, and I always raise this, and I don't know how we got here, but the funding for curb and road rehabilitation, I used to think that we bumped it up years ago to 30 million, but 33, but then I don't think it ever got spent. Maybe it did for a year or two. And then I think last year you corrected me and so you're like, look, it's 25 million. What are you talking about? And I'm like, what? How'd that happen? Because the council wanted 33 million. So I'm looking at this 25 million in this year's budget, and frankly, that's not enough. For my newer colleagues, that goes next to nowhere. Now, I'm glad to hear you get six-fold return on your new paving technique. That would be very helpful. But just as a general matter, you're talking $2.5 million per district, and you can do 4, 5, 6 streets out of the 1,000 streets in your district. I mean, sure.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Ritchie Road and Walker Mills Road, the traffic lines are non-existent.
Right.
Oh, okay, Sonia, let's Okay.
So we are in the process of getting, we were delayed in getting the restriping contract going. So we've gotten that, in effect, and we are setting up the work so that we have, those are roads that are of importance, but there's several other roads that need restriping and crosswalks. So we're working to get that done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, we thank you very much. This has been incredibly helpful, and we'll figure out the 42.
And I want to
As I
thank,
recall, 42 is the meaning of life.
I just wanted to thank Rodney Streeter for his work with us and being responsive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the number 42. Yay!
Oh, it's done? Yeah. You're gonna have a ribbon cutting? You're gonna have a ribbon cutting? All right, cool.